the Pop Culture Master Race.
Does mother know you wear it for drapes?
All your pop culture needs. And here are your hosts, Aiden Munga and Brett Page.
Hello and welcome back to the PCMR podcast. That is Pop Culture Master Race, where we talk about movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, all sorts of things. But today we are talking about Xmen Apocalypse, the latest film in the Xmen franchise, directed by Bryan Singer, once again bringing back all your favorites, your James McAvoys, your Michael Fassbenders, up against the End Sabanur Apocalypse.
Good work pronouncing that.
Yeah, I've had a bit of practice just saying it. Yeah. Listening to George Takei and that little promo was like, End Sabanur.
Were you just like sitting there for an hour before we started recording going, End Sabanur? Oh, God.
Alrighty, this is it's a review this week. As we promised last week, we're talking about another bloody superhero movie. There are so many that come out this year. Six. This
Wow.
is what are we up to? This is 4?
Yeah, well, we've had Deadpool.
Yeah.
We had Batman vs. Superman.
Civil War. Yeah, this is number 4. Number 4 this
then
year.
Civil
God,
War,
yeah.
and this is number 4. So what else do we have coming soon? We have Suicide Squad and Doctor
then-
Strange still to come this year.
Suicide Squad, Luke Cage, and then Doctor Strange.
Ah, yeah,
And-
Luke Cage, the TV.
And next week we'll be talking about all the CW stuff.
yes,
So just
the Arrowverse, as
Woo!
it's called.
Superheroes everywhere. We'll probably touch. Do you want to touch on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit as well? We'll do like
Oh,
a
yeah,
little
it's
bit.
finishing up as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that just finished last week.
Yeah, I haven't caught up on that, to be honest.
Well, you got a week to catch up. You're good.
Oh, I'm trying to catch up on Legends of Tomorrow. I'm up to episode 6. How many is there? 16?
Yeah, like, there's not that many. Like, it's not as much as like the rest of them. Anyway, we're not talking about the DC stuff. We're talking about the X-Men. We're going to be doing a spoiler-free section to start off with, as always, and then a spoiler section where we kind of talk about bits we did like, the scenes that we really liked, or the bits that we're like, what the fuck was going on there? You know, a little bit of get into why we didn't like a certain thing. So let's start off. This film, really, it's coming in as kind of like the culmination of the trilogy of kind of Michael Fassbender.
Yes, it's the first-class trilogy, as it's been referred to.
Yeah, and this brings us into the 80s. We've gone from the 60s to the 70s, the 80s. There's always 10 years between films, and
no one ages.
no one ages at all. Like it looks like they've aged like a year, and then it's like, wow, you are all really well preserved. You look exactly the same as you did in your 20s, as you do in your 40s now.
My question is, like, when does Michael Fassbender turn into Ian McKellen? When does James McAvoy turn into Patrick Stewart? You know, it's got to happen at some point.
They rapidly aged during the 90s, I guess.
Yeah, it must be the 90s, because there's like, we're in the 80s and the original first X-Men was in 2000, so they got some aging to do.
They got some aging to do. Like, who knows? You got to kind of ignore the X-Men timeline because it's all over the place, and
it's so weird.
Like, is Deadpool set in this same timeline? Even he is confused. He said in Deadpool is like when they said, "Oh, we're going to take you to see the professor," and he's like, "Oh, McAvoy or Stewart?" His timelines are so confusing.
Yeah, I just keep thinking about that every time I try and think about the X-Men timelines. It's like, I don't know what happened when, or
even the
who's
characters
what
are
and where.
confused by it. Let's just go by everything that's happened from First Class until now.
Let's just think of the
is
First
what's
Class
happening.
trilogy. Let's get rid of everything else from our minds, and we're just thinking of the First Class trilogy.
So this time around, we've got End Sabanur Apocalypse as the villain, being played by Oscar Isaac. We've got Michael Fassbender returning, doing a bit more of a somber Magneto, going back to his roots a little bit. And we have the introduction of some new characters, the X-Men that we all know and love, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, and the return of Evan Peters as Quicksilver, who, again, gets another really great scene. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail when we get to spoilers. But if you saw Days of Future Past and enjoyed his like great kind of show-off power scene, he gets another one of those, which is almost as spectacular, if not more.
I reckon more spectacular. It's like the scene from Days of Future Past, but cranked up to 11.
It's definitely has a larger scope.
Yeah. Yeah, say that.
Oh yes, definitely. So this film, it has, like you've said, you've had some things to say, and I have some mixed feelings throughout the film.
Yeah,
like,
see, that's what I'd say my feelings are about this film in general, just mixed. Like, I didn't not like it. I'll say that to start with, but it's definitely the weakest of the trilogy, which they even made a joke about themselves in the film, because
which was them kind of making there was a little jab where they try to make fun of Last Stand, but at the same time they're kind of like, yeah, but you're a third film.
Yeah, it kind of made fun of itself. Because they were like a bunch of them. They went to the movies. They saw Return of the Jedi, and they was like, "Oh, at least we can agree the third one's always the worst."
It's like,
I was the only one in my entire almost full cinema. I was the only one who fucking cracked up laughing at that line. Like people looked at me. That's how much I was laughing. People looked at me.
Or did you have other people going like, "What's wrong with the Ewoks? What do you got against Ewoks, eh?"
I just think the joke didn't land to a lot of like more casual film viewers.
It's hard because how are people supposed to remember? It's like, is this like a reboot thing? Like even with Days of Future Past, where they're bringing in like all these old people, the timeline is so confusing. They're not entirely sure like which one's the third film. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
It's all so confusing. But yeah, the tone is kind of, it's a bit all over the place. But I think, let's talk about positives first before we get into negatives. Michael Fassbender, I think, doesn't know how to give a bad performance.
Yeah,
in this film,
definitely going to say he was one of the standout performances in this film. Great acting, and his character, unlike a lot of characters in this film, actually had a really good arc, and you really understood his motives the whole time. And even though he was doing bad things at points, you kind of understood his reasoning for his actions. And that's something that a lot of the other characters in this film didn't have. There's a lot of times where other characters, you didn't understand their motivation, you couldn't get what they were doing, and they had bad characterization.
Like, he definitely, even he had a few wonky lines here and there, which he performed admirably. Like, he tried to do the best with what he had, which I can't say for everyone in this film, because there are some problems with the script where it's a little on the cheesy side, which, like, in this day and age where the people who wrote Civil War have kind of elevated things, and even going back to the Dark Knight and stuff, that you kind of expect a little bit more from these comic book films, while the dialogue here and there wasn't great. I'd say across the board it was fine. Like, for an X-Men movie, it's fine, but this franchise has done better in the past, and even done better in different scenes of this film. But there are a few lines, especially a really emotional moment for Michael Fassbender's character, which was a little to me.
Is this the forest scene?
Yeah. Well,
yeah. We won't get into that, but yeah, the forest. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I thought that was a little wonky, but overall, I thought his performance was really great. I also enjoyed the new cast, bringing in Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. There's an Australian guy, I forget his name.
Cody Smith-McGee.
Yeah, Cody Smith-McGee. He comes in as bloody
Nightcrawler.
Kurt Wagner. Nightcrawler. Yeah, he was great. I thought he did really well.
Yeah, see, and he's one of the ones as well, like, all his jokes landed, I feel like, and I kind of didn't expect Nightcrawler to be a humorous character, but
no,
I don't know, his jokes land. Like, there was one scene where it's like freaking Mystique and Beast were talking to each other, and they were just like, "Oh, we're both not blue anymore. I guess that's something we both have in common now." Then he just comes in like, "I'm blue." I thought that was great.
A nice awkward kind of thing, or it's like these two actors who I can't commit to being blue for an entire film, and Cody Smith-McGee is like, no, I will. Yeah,
and it's like these two characters, they have history together. They've been through shit. They had the whole, appearance. Let's be mutants. Let's not be mutants in First Class. That was a big thing in that movie. So, yeah, and it was kind of like, I think that little scene there was a bit of a homage to First Class. Homage?
Homage, yeah.
Homage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that little scene there was a bit of a homage to that. But then
Omelette du homage.
yeah, then he just jumps in like, I'm blue.
No,
So
that was pretty
that was
good.
a quirky, good little thing. I liked.
And I've thought that I think Oscar Isaac, I'm torn on whether I liked his performance or not. I don't think it's the best Oscar Isaac has ever been, but I liked the effect that they did for his voice. I thought how it would like kind of like come in and out in intensity was kind of really interesting and like really emphasizing that this is a character that has lived a really long time and has experienced inhabiting a lot of people. So there's a lot of different like voices in his head, and they kind of emphasize in different moments. And I thought that was cool. It's a little, it's not something that we haven't seen entirely before, but I thought it was put to great use here.
Well, honestly, I think one of my favorite scenes in the whole film was that opening scene where he's first, Apocalypse is first going to Oscar Isaac's body in that whole back in ancient Egypt. I loved that scene.
No, I thought it was a powerful way to open the film.
Yeah, definitely. If they could have kept up that intensity, it would have been great. That scene was just so intense. It was like just beautiful pyramids and shit.
Also, I have to give props once again to the Xmen theme. I think is one of the best superhero themes in the business. Every time I hear it, I get excited. Like I was going into this film and I was a little trepidatious because I was thinking like, oh, this is just another superhero movie. I have to watch it again. I'm not quite in the mood. Me and my girlfriend are a little tired. We kind of just want to go to bed. But that theme, as soon as I hear it, just as a little bit in the 20th Century Fox one, is like, I'm just like, oh, I forgot how great this theme song is.
Yes. And
if anything, it's good to hear that theme again.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes just straight from that opening scene into the theme with the whole tunnel thing going on where it's like traveling through time kind of thing. I was like, I think that was cool. That was cool.
That was pretty cool. It was like we've gone for like different things. Like in the first film, it was like going through DNA and stuff, and then we've done like different things with like the opening credits. But I thought this was like is a nice kind of thing to do, and I'm glad that they brought back this theme song in Days of Future Past because I wasn't there in First Class or the Wolverine or it'd been missing for a couple of films now, and then now that it's back thanks to Days of Future Past, it's like, oh, good, because it's one of the best.
Yeah, you were listening to it again when we started this Skype call.
I was listening to it to hype myself up because I was like, oh, I need to get into the headspace to review Xmen, and like this puts me in like it's a powerful kind of, it's powerful mood. I like it. It's a good song.
Yeah. A+ to the theme song. A+ because we give it American grades now.
Yeah.
We're Chris Stuckman.
Yes. Okay, now do you want to get into some vague kind of negative things?
Okay, I have a couple of things. I think the biggest problem I had with this film is there was some really bad characterization. And there was a lot of characters who they kind of lacked motive. Like Apocalypse, that he sort of had it. Like once he came back, he wanted to destroy the world because he could.
Yeah, it was a little unclear what he really wanted to do. I guess it was again that kind of like classic bad guy thing where it's like, I will destroy the world and then build a better one. Like it's that God complex kind of thing. Where
and like that's all he says. He doesn't exactly say.
We'll do like a Noah's flood, and then all the people who are strong will rise up, and we will rule the earth. Only the strong will survive. It's like extreme.
We've definitely seen that idea in Xmen before. In Xmen films, it's been a very recurring theme. Like we want to kill all humans, so it's just mutants. So it's like that's been done before, and it's just Apocalypse's motives were really just weird, and you couldn't understand them at times. And like I think most of his horsemen as well, I had the same problem with. Magneto was the only really one of the horsemen that you really understood why he was there and why he felt that way.
Yeah.
Psylocke was kind of there because she could be.
So,
Angel was kind of there because she could be.
Let me get into Psylocke. So before this movie was coming out, like Olivia Munn was going on and on about like, ooh, I did all my own stunts. I was doing all these crazy things. I'm bloody, there could be like a Psylocke spin-off movie she's talking about. And then you go into this movie, and this is like a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to talk about specifics. But in tone, like, the character doesn't say much. She doesn't do much until the third act.
I actually have that written down in my notes because I don't write my notes professionally. I write them colloquially. My note is, where the fuck are all her lines?
Yeah.
She had 2 lines in this entire film.
Like, you think that character deserves a spin-off? Like, I'm sure in the comics she's crazy interesting. I haven't read a lot about her, but I'm sure she has some great runs here and there. But if you was to just see her in this movie, you'd be like, well, she looks cool, I guess, but
see,
why should I care?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we didn't get any sort of connection with her. She was just there. She had her powers, and like anyone who doesn't know the comics would have no idea what she was doing. Like, energy swords.
Yeah, no, there's a character who's in the film for like 2 scenes, Caliban. And I understood more about his character by the end of the film than I did her.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like really bad characterization. Like maybe when they were filming, there was more scenes in it. Just ended up on the editing room floor. Like, I don't know.
It feels
what
like
there.
They were trying to pack a lot into it. Like they missed a lot of opportunities to explore a lot of concepts. Like, you have a character who coming back who disproves this theory that like so far, the theory that mutants kind of arose out of the 60s and kind of the 40s, that like mutants are a 20th century kind of invention. Like, they're very recently, like, humankind has evolved to a higher being to the mutants. But, you have someone like Apocalypse who comes in and like disproves that. It's like mutants have been around much longer, and like there's no time for anyone to like stop and contemplate that. Like, no one like stops and goes like, my idea of like who we are and how we exist on the food chain is like completely changed.
Yeah, it's like whenever they went out, Apocalypse is like 4,000 years old, everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, no one bats an eyelid at
no
that
one is
fact.
like, there is a 4,000-year-old, super being who can do all these things. There's not enough time, I think, to establish like how intimidating we should find Apocalypse. We just kind of like thrust into it as like, even like there's characters right up until like midway through the film who don't even know what's going on. It's not until like right before the third act that they're like, who's causing this? This guy. Oh, all right. Well, let's just go do some stuff.
Yeah, like Jean and Scott and Nightcrawler, they're just kind of just like, they're in the building, then the building gets, this kind of spoilers, but whatever. And they just kind of follow what's happening until they realize, we got to go take him on. Okay.
So, and like, there's another scene I want to talk about that's more specifics, but I'll get into that in spoilers. But I did think that like the new characters were good, and I thought, the guy who was playing Scott was doing the best he could. It's like, it's a new, like, we're trying to reintroduce Scott Summers into the universe, and I thought the conflict and kind of arc he had with his brother Havoc, who's played by the Alex Till or something like that.
I don't know any of those actors' names.
He's going to be MacGyver in a new TV show. So he had his MacGyver hair. So I just watched the MacGyver trailer. So I've been looking at it as like, that's your MacGyver hair, and you're going to go and film MacGyver now. Yeah, so that's what he's doing. And I thought his arc was all right. I thought Jean Grey, they're hinting at stuff they want to redo that they've kind of touched on in previous films. What they want to, I think they're going to try and do it better going forward. And I thought all that was okay. And I thought Evan Peters was used a bit better this time, and they clarified some things about who his parents are, which I thought was good. And he had that kind of a nice arc, but these new characters got a better arc, I feel, than most of like the old returning characters. I feel like these characters, the characterization is a little, besides like the new ones get like kind of, they all get their own kind of arc, but that kind of pushes the characters that we've been following through First Class and Days of Future Past kind of to the wayside, which is another thing that I feel like this film did.
I do feel like Mystique, out of all the returning characters, Mystique had a good arc.
Yeah, but she... Like, I'm glad, like, she gets an arc, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, Mystique isn't that interesting a character, and they've kind of made her more interesting in these films than she really is.
Yeah, I do feel that, because, like, her powers don't really help with fighting, per se.
No.
They help with sneaking around and shit, but I feel like they just want to milk Jennifer Lawrence for all she's worth, and that was a really bad way of putting that.
Yeah, and they were kind of treating her a little bit like Katniss Everdeen throughout this film. It's like, thanks to the events of Days of Future Past, whenever any mutant meets her, they're like, oh, it's Katniss Everdeen. I mean, Mystique, you're my hero. It's like, and she's
throughout that,
she's
when
conflicted
they were doing
about that.
Yeah, when they were doing that as well, I'm just like, all she did was not shoot Magneto. That's all she fucking did.
That's like, I don't know. It's a little there. And another thing that I was going to complain about is like, so throughout First Class and Days of Future Past, what has been the driving dynamic that we've been following?
The driving dynamic, that would be the relationship between Mystique and Professor X. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the relationship between Magneto and Professor X.
Well, I was kind of right.
yeah, you're almost there. But yeah, this is the relationship between Magneto and Professor X. These two people who became friends and then were enemies, and they have to... we have a lot in the previous films. We have a lot of scenes between the two of them. I think there's only one scene where you're entirely sure that these two people are on the same set. Their relationship is completely kind of wasted. They touch on it a little bit, but it's in a very superficial way. And I feel like that was to the film's detriment to not further explore the relationship between these two characters, where most of the time for the length of the film, they're not even in the same scene.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying, because even in all the X-Men films, a very prominent theme has been the relationship between Magneto and Professor X. So to just kind of drop that dynamic off and focus on other things, they're kind of losing something.
Which I think Michael Fassbender is a strong enough actor to like still be interesting because as a character, but for James McAvoy as Professor X, he doesn't have as much to do in this film. He does a little bit and he gets some scenes here and there, but it's like not as, emotionally impactful as Michael Fassbender gets to be. And I feel like his character gets let down a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the characters in this film have the same problem. Like, we don't see them enough to get that deep of an arc with them. 'Cause, like, I feel like they're very trying to do the whole, like, Civil War thing, where they, like, bring in a lot of characters. Like, but also at the same time, like, in movies like Civil War, when you do that, we already know these characters, so we can have smaller arcs. But when they're bringing in, like, a lot of new characters, like, they brought in Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, and Scott Summers. So these are three characters. They want to focus on them. They want to give them all good arcs. But they're also trying to give these characters arcs, and they're trying to show us the old characters a bit. I feel like their characterization and their arcs are getting kind of lost in all this mess of trying to show everyone.
Now, I will say another thing I have a problem with. I'll do one more negative before I go on a positive before we get into spoilers, is that the first act is really messy, and that we open strong with that kind of opening scene where you feel like there's a lot of tension and the story builds, and then you get the theme song, and then we're just zipping all over the place. And while each like individual scene is okay on its own, like just jammed all together, the first act is so messy and convoluted that you're constantly whipping between new characters. Like every scene introduces some new people or reintroduces old characters, and you're just constantly going like, who, what, where am I, what am I doing, what country am I in, what time zone am I in, what period is this, where am I?
Yeah, definitely. The first act had so much jumping around, and it was like, just, Apocalypse was recruiting his horsemen. I was like, oh, okay, that's just a thing. Then just back at the
felt
school
like
doing
Nightcrawler
things.
just going like zip, like you were constantly like just like evaporating into a new place, and it's like I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like I don't have an eyesight line to know where I'm going next. I don't know what's going to happen next, and that was a little jarring. And then it kind of settles down a little bit into the second act and the third act. Kind of like you get a clear idea of which characters you're supposed to be following, and people coalesce into groups so you can follow those groups. But the first act is just so all over the place.
Yeah, that's definitely something I feel as well. Just too messy. We're jumping between things. As I just said with my little spiel about them trying to build characters but failing. It's just jumping around too much. They're showing us too much, and then they're showing us too much and not enough at the same time. Get what I'm saying? Showing us too much different things, but not enough of each separate thing.
No, it's not enough to us to get like a feel of those things. It's like it's a taste. We gotta just keep getting a taste and a taste and a taste and a taste. And it's like, no, just give me a meal. I came to eat a meal. Stop giving me this like smorgasbord platter. Which like
that is that's the point I'm trying to make. Too much, but not enough at the same time. Perfect.
Yeah, and like I probably wouldn't have as big a problem with this if we hadn't just seen Civil War, where that's a film that handles a large roster of characters so well.
See, I hate that we have to make that comparison all the time, but we kind of do because things aren't living up to it.
No, because that's the context of like what we're coming from and where we're coming from as viewers and I guess as reviewers. These are the films that are coming before it, and like they've handled similar situations. It's not completely similar, like it's not the same as say Civil War and Batman v Superman have a much kind of more similar dynamic. This film is only similar in that it's a large character roster. The story is much more different than Batman v Superman or Civil War. It's almost more simple in a way, but it doesn't handle that simplicity as well as Civil War handles its complexity. If that makes sense.
I get you. See,
it's like it's a simple story, and it's like bad guy wants to take over the world, but because we have this large character roster and we're zipping around trying to make sense of it all, it's a little convoluted.
Yeah,
where it should have been streamlined.
It's convoluted. A lot of points get lost. Like X-Men, you always got to give this X-Men series credit because it kind of started this golden age, let's call it that, this golden age of superhero movies we're in now. X-Men and X-Men 2, they were the ones that really started this brilliant age of comic book movies. But
they were the first films to really like say that, these aren't just films about people with superpowers fighting evil people. You can tell a story, you can have a parable, you can link this to something real and then go from there.
Yeah, there can be good superhero movies. That's what what movies told us to. And so this franchise, it's always going to have that weight on its shoulders, I'd say. So
it will have that because it's the same weight that you have with like a lot of science fiction stories where like good science fiction isn't just about showing us a spaceship and telling us how the spaceship works. It's about using the spaceship as a metaphor for something. So like exploration of like the human soul as like the universe as an example of the human soul, or with X-Men where it's like these are like examples of racism and bigotry and like people trying to get along because like Charles Xavier and Magneto they have parallels in their character type to people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So you're trying to bring that kind of real world parallel that we can like structure ourselves to, and then be like, oh, okay, I get how this all relates to things. Like you have the 60s one, it was all about like the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like we're structuring like all of these crazy events to a real life thing that happened. And then in the 70s, you've got all this time travel stuff, but it's structured down to like, okay, we're dealing with Cold War and all this kind of stuff. The 80s, it's there a little bit in the Cold War kind of paranoia, but I don't think it makes as good use of that, like the era and like the things it could be trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like they just trying to find words. Trying to find what I'm thinking.
I think I made 2 points there. I was trying to make one. Like I got sidetracked onto another point I wanted to make. Was like, yeah, you look at like First Class and Days of Future Past, and those films are very much like, oh, this is definitely set in like the future in the 70s, or this is very much set in the 60s. This one, it is set in the 80s, and it does have like some 80s tropes here and there, but it didn't need to be the 80s.
Yeah, that's something I definitely thought. It didn't need to be the 80s. It could have been any time period. Like, here's one really dumb thing I thought as well. Because when Apocalypse is first about and he meets Storm, and Storm brings her back to her home, and he just touches the TV, and he's like, I'm learning. I'm like, that is not how TV works. That is not internet. That's not how TV works.
That was very strange. And then it's like, I guess, they're trying to do like, well, in another film, if we had the internet, he would touch something and he'd learn everything from the internet. And here is like, well, he can. So was all those programs he was watching all things that were airing right now?
That's what I thought. He would have only been able to receive what they were viewing right now, because
there should have been like way more reruns of like sitcoms. Like he should have just been like, why are there so many channels showing the Cosby Show? Why did we both go for Cosby Show?
I don't know.
That's like the only like 80 sitcom we could think of. It's like, fucking Cosby Show. Why not Full House or All in the Family or something? Why Cosby Show?
I don't know much 80s television.
I guess we were thinking like, what would turn him evil? Cosby Show. Oh, that's controversial, topical. Oh, but no. Anyway, rape allegations aside.
Okay.
This rapist has his own TV show? Oh, yeah. Burn it all down. Burn it all down to the ground.
All the world is going to hell.
Go to hell.
We've got to start again, guys. We've got to start again. Give her another go.
You gave a serial rapist a sitcom and told him he was America's dad. I have to burn it all to the ground. I'm sorry.
Like, guys, you brought this on yourselves.
This is a mercy killing. See, that would have made Apocalypse's plot make way more sense.
And everyone's just trying to fight him. It's like, come on, guys, Bill Cosby.
Yeah, well, I guess at this point they didn't know. They didn't know.
Anyway, we're getting off track. Do we want to get into spoilers now? Do we want to give our final thoughts?
Let's get into some spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, I would give this film a 6.5 out of 10, I'll say.
I was feeling a 6 out of 10, so, we'll give it a 6.25 average.
Yeah, so, I thought it was fun at points, and it does have, like, a really great sequence featuring Evan Peters' Quicksilver.
Yeah, has the action sequence at the end there, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good, and the stakes are high, I guess.
The stakes are high, but it doesn't feel like the stakes are high.
No.
That's another problem I had. I felt like the last sequence didn't feel as big as it should have felt.
This didn't feel that great as like a wrap-up of a trilogy. If this was like the start of like another trilogy, it's like more interesting if you view it as like, okay, this is not the wrap-up of a trilogy as much as it is a continuation of a story, and this is like just the next chapter. It's just another episode in this expensive TV show.
Yeah, I feel that.
Which is what all these comic book movies are now, which is so
it's
so
pretty
exhausting.
Much
They're all just expensive TV shows. Ugh.
Yeah, long, expensive TV shows. Yeah, anyway, 6.25 average. If you're invested in the Xmen, go see it. You're probably going to anyway. You don't need to hear it from us.
It's not the best superhero film this year. I think it's not even the best X-Men film this year. I think Deadpool was better. I like that a lot more. But it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay enough.
You won't hate it. Probably.
You won't hate it, probably. Yeah.
If you like X-Men, you won't hate it.
That's the tagline of our review. Yeah. You won't hate it, probably. Yeah. Anyway,
all right, let's get into spoilers. All right, so where to begin?
The scene of Magneto in the forest. I think that was one of the best scenes in this movie, to be honest. It had some deep character development, and it was emotional, and it was tense. And so if they had more scenes like that in this movie, maybe we would have rated it higher. I just really liked that scene.
The only problem I had with that scene was is this what I've become? yelling at the sky.
No,
where he,
I disagree.
like,
disagree.
It was better than no. I'll give it that. Like, I was expecting a no, and I got a different response, which was good. But it was kind of old man yells at clouds, like, "What do you want, clouds?" Ah!
I disagree wholeheartedly. It was emotional. He had just lost his wife and daughter. They both died by the same arrow.
I enjoyed everything else in the scene. I thought Michael Fassbender gave a great performance, and I really felt his loss. It was just, I thought the dialogue was a little like, okay, it's a little campy, but whatever.
He worked it. He worked it.
He did his best with the material he had. I will say that.
Okay, let's say that.
I also thought it was... I was making... Like, the last act, it's enjoyable, but it's so fucking silly. I was making jokes in my head. The whole, like, when Magneto is in his, like, little metal bubble, and, like, they're pushing on it, and I was making jokes in my head, like, Quicksilver comes up, and I was just, in my head, I was thinking, like, Dad, you need to get out of this bubble. And Magneto's going, no, I'm not getting out of this bubble. Magneto.
Like a stubborn child.
I'm real sad. And like...
Emo Magneto.
And that was a bit like, ugh. And I thought there was a moment where, like, where Xavier goes into Apocalypse's head and he's like, oh, I'm going to best you with my mind games. And then Apocalypse is just like, grows real big and punks him out. And it reminded me a lot of that bear scene from The Revenant. It was even a moment where he was on top of him and he's just like crushing him and he's like,
here we go.
Like, oh, okay. We're taking this to a prison shower scene. This is, okay.
I kind of did like that thing though, how they were having that psychological fight inside the head. That was kind of... It was kind of cool,
but it was also a little cheesy at the same time where I was enjoying it, but I was laughing at how ridiculous it was.
Yeah, I was
kind of just came real big and it's like, I'm a big scary bear. Yeah.
I'ma eat you.
It's so silly. But let's talk about that scene, that Quicksilver scene. So
that scene, yeah.
Apocalypse shows up with his 4 horsemen and he's like, haha, we've come to take you, Professor Xavier. And he's like, what? You're not fucking taking me. Get the fuck out of my school. And Magneto's like, whoop, grabs his chair and brings him along.
Doop.
Yeah, and then they're duping away, and then Havoc blows up the it's not a Quinjet, what is it? The Blackbird. And they're like, oh no. And then you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? Are they all dead? And then bloody Quicksilver shows up. And again, just
in
like
the nick of time. Kind of lame, kind of cheesy. That's what I thought lame and cheesy. Like, of course, the only one who can save them showed up just in time.
Sweet. And it was like, I thought it wasn't as well executed as the other one. I thought like the CGI in this was a little rubbery and a little kind of like unbelievable in moments. Where like
I felt like because of the fact he was doing it in such a bigger area, it kind of lost a little bit of the intensity.
Like it was still enjoyable, and like especially like seeing a little dog with some pizza in its mouth going super fast that's super fun. Like
yeah, it was a fun scene.
But it was like a little jarring. Where like in the other scene in Days of Future Past, it's like. This is like we're in this serious moment and, things are going to go awry and then things don't go awry. And like, we have this like really cool, like display of his power. And it's just this amazing kind of technical feat of like, wow, this is so astonishing. But this is like, we've just seen like the X Mansion is blowing up and it's like, oh no, this should be like really dramatic, but it's like kind of played for laughs and kind of check like, it doesn't matter. The X Mansion is blowing up. Everyone's safe. Who cares? Woo! But then Havoc dies and like it gets a bit more serious. But I did feel like it was a little jarring where we were in like this serious moment and then straight into this like laughing moment. Like I enjoyed the scene, but I thought it was a little jarring and it wasn't quite as tight and well constructed as the original Quicksilver scene.
Yeah, I feel that. What about the Wolverine cameo? What did you think?
Yeah, look, I thought this is like the most violent we've seen Wolverine ever. Like, usually we don't see so much like blood and stuff. Well, like they were still trying to like make it like that PG-13, but I felt like there was a lot more like blood on the floor. He was just like really
blood on the dance floor.
Blood on the dance floor.
What the fuck was that laugh I did?
Was it Murder on the Dance Floor? Is Blood on the Dance Floor?
I was referring to Blood on the Dance Floor.
Oh yeah, that really shitty band.
Example here, edit.
No, we're not putting that in there. That's a cruel thing to do. Don't you dare.
I'm gonna do it now just to spite you.
For all our listeners, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Where were we going? Yeah, no, this is like he was really great. It was like the Weapon X thing. It wasn't an exact representation where like the Weapon X, he has like a kind of a red visor thing, which I will allow because it allows for us to see like the intensity of Hugh Jackman's eyes. And like he really did look like a crazy animal in this scene.
Yeah, that it was very animalistic.
Oh yeah. And like I was just like taken aback at how like super like violent and vicious this was. And I'm thinking like, why haven't we gotten this in the other Wolverine and X-Men films? Why has it taken this long for you to get it right and make him so fucking terrifying? He's a man with knives that come out of his knuckles. It should be brutal as fuck.
I think it's because they were definitely trying to go for that PG-13 thing the whole time. But I think in this movie, they've kind of realized maybe a bit from Deadpool that, okay, we can make this a bit more violent. We can make this a bit scarier. We can market it more towards adults and still, sit decently on the profit line.
Yeah, and it was still...
How much profit this movie made? I'm going to Google that.
I think it's like the first weekend it's made like 100 million worldwide, which is not bad, but it's not like super great. Like compared to like these other superhero films where they're coming out with like 200 million, 190 million. So like it's like doing okay, but like it depends on like how the reviews go and how like interested people are in this that it'll do. But like anyway, yeah, like talking about this scene, I feel like it still managed to get like a PG-13 violence. So don't go in expecting if you haven't seen it. I don't know why you're listening to this if you haven't seen it, but like, yeah, it's not quite there yet. Like I think we'll get there a bit more with the next Wolverine movie, which is confirmed to be R-rated, and there's probably going to be like chopping off limbs and stuff.
Yes,
and more.
Once we get, should we talk about the after credit scene now? Because
yeah, we'll get it.
Did you know what the after credit scene meant? I do.
I looked up the Essex Corp. It's Mr. Sinister?
Mr. Sinister. Which makes sense that Mr. Sinister is going to follow up from Apocalypse. Because in the comic books, Apocalypse gave Mr. Sinister his powers. So, and being a following...
So is this the part of the comics that you know a bit more about?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, yeah, as I said, I was quite young when I read them, so I'm a bit... But... I feel like in the Wolverine movie, I think we're going to get Scott Summers back, because in the comics, Mr. Sinister, or Nathaniel Essex, head of Essex Corp, he has an infatuation with the Summers brothers, and like Scott especially. Like he's just fascinated with his powers. He wants to harness them. I feel like in this Wolverine movie, we're going to get some Scott Summers. That's just me speculating, but let's see.
So would that mean we'd get like a James Marsden back as Scott Summers? Or would we get this...
Probably, maybe, because, we're getting Patrick Stewart back as
Patrick
Professor
Stewart's
X.
coming back as Professor X.
And
it's kind of set in, like, a far-off future. So, maybe. And it just depends, like, that could be them hinting not at the Wolverine next, but maybe, like, New Mutants. I'm not entirely sure if, like... Mr. Sinister is going to be the Wolverine villain, because I know they've got the guy from Narcos is playing the main villain.
Wait, which one?
The white guy, the one who's
the white guy. Yeah, not Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, not Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, don't know his name. Let's just call him not Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, the one who wasn't in Game of Thrones. He's going to be the bad guy. So that's I don't know if you could see him as Mr. Sinister. I've only got like one image in my mind of what Mr. Sinister looks like. It's like, oh yeah, another blue guy, because all X-Men are blue. Everyone in this goddamn universe is blue. But
wow, they really are. There's a lot of blue people.
What, there really are? There's so fucking many of them. But yeah, well, that could be interesting. Do you have any idea what those other vials were? Because we had like there's Wolverine's blood, and then we had like a green vial and a yellow vial. Do you have any idea what those could be?
Not really, no.
See, there was a part of me that, like, for a split second before I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense, was like the green one, and I was like, the Hulk! But I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. He's not in this universe. But it's like, but I still would like to see a Wolverine versus Hulk scene. Like, I know that seems to be like what they're doing in the Avengers films, where it's always like, well, let's have a Thor versus Hulk. Let's have Iron Man versus Hulk. Let's rent him out to the X-Men and we can have Wolverine versus Hulk. But there is like a really great fight and really great like little animated movie with Wolverine versus Hulk. So that would be interesting to see, but I don't think we'll ever see it, and we'll just have to make do with the animated version. But yeah, I have no idea what like that could be. Also, another thing that I thought was really really neat before we get into some other stuff was when we back up with Angel, where he's listening to Metallica's The Four Horsemen. I thought that was like, aha!
yeah, that was pretty
lol
cool.
Jokes, fun.
Yes,
I was getting a little bit of a headbang going on in the theater. It was like, oh
that was a pretty like. As soon as he got there, I was like, yeah,
boy, 80s fresh metal, boy. Like that was like the only moment I actually really felt like, yeah, man, the 80s.
Fuck yeah. That was 80s.
And I feel like his character, he didn't get a great arc. He got some cool action sequences, and I liked the idea of the character.
Yeah, like,
but I didn't have like a great sense of who he was.
He had similar problems that Psylocke had, like not as bad as Psylocke had them, but
like I think even like Psylocke wasn't the worst, like the most shafted. I felt like Jubilee was the most shafted. Once again, doesn't get to do shit in these movies. I feel like she got. Did you see there was like an 80s kind of TV promo they made with like Jubilee going around campus saying like, here at Professor X's school for children who aren't shit, we're great, hooray! And it's like she got more to say in that little commercial than she did in the film, which I thought was like, oh man, oh poor Jubilee.
No.
Shafted once again. Like she doesn't even get to be part of the team at the end. It's like all these other people. It's like, yeah, we're gonna be the X-Men, and Jubilee's just like, guys, what's going on? Didn't even get to show off her powers, which was, and she's like going around doing all like the promotional stuff for this movie, and I'm just like, you didn't do anything.
It's Gwendolyn Christie, Captain Phasma all over again.
It really is. Like just let her do so. Because I don't even know what. If I just watched this movie and had no idea who Jubilee was, I'd be like, what the fuck are her powers? What are most of these people's powers? Why are they in this school? She wears, like, she looked the part. She got, like, the cool yellow jacket, but what the fuck did she do?
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll say, like, speaking of the jacket, kind of changing subject, the costuming was really good. I feel like, if anything was definitely, like, accurate 80s, it was, like, the costuming. Like,
everyone dressed... everyone was dressed like it was the 80s. Like, Professor X had that kind of, like, Miami Vice kind of look to him, where it was, like, the rolled-up sleeves and the pink shirt. It was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Havoc had that MacGyver thing going on, which was definitely 80s.
Yeah. But
so yeah, props to the costume department for really nailing this period.
Coughs.
You sound like a woman there for a second.
Like a tennis player, Maria Sharapova.
I should stop doing that. I have roommates that probably sound weird.
I don't know if it's got in my throat. But yeah, speaking of costuming, one thing I thought that was a little like weird was how like that when they go to fight Apocalypse and they find that like new jet in the hangar of Stryker's kind of like Weapon X facility, they're like, oh, flight suits, and like they all just happen to fit all these small children and women. Like I didn't see any women working in this base. Everyone's like burly kind of like military people. How are they like boob shaped? What's going on here?
Yeah, that was one thing. Like, that's strangely convenient.
Yeah, that didn't quite make sense. But you know what? That's like a everything wrong with in 17 minutes kind of a problem. Not so much a. Hopefully it won't take you out of the movie, but it did. Like for me, for a moment, I was like, "How do those fit? How did he have like the right size boots? What? Are they like going through like, guys, this doesn't fit me. Can you you have it? Like, I need like, has anyone got a size 10? No.
That kind of reminds me of that meme you shared on Facebook, which is like scenes they don't show you in the movie, and Steve Rogers is like, okay, suit up, and everyone in the car park just getting changed,
just hiding behind a car. It's like, okay, just got their underwear. It's like, oh, just someone zip me up. It's just like, I would like for there to be like a scene like that. I feel like Deadpool could do a scene like that where he's like asking.
We should start that as a YouTube series. Scenes you don't see.
Yeah, that would be good. But I did like at the end, just before like they get like the danger room, which was great. I love seeing the danger room. That's always good. Brought back some those big old robots, the Trask. What are they called?
Yeah, the Sentinels.
Sentinels, yeah, and they got all their like comic book accurate costumes, which in this day and age, it's like finally we could get some fucking comic accurate costumes. Like,
yeah. But going back to Mystique, when that happened, I was like, how is Mystique gonna fight these? She changes her skin. How is she gonna fight Sentinels? Okay, okay.
I assume she was gonna be more like a leader role, like because they all look up to her.
She's gonna stand at the back and like, I'm gonna chill back here where I don't get hurt. You guys just do your thing.
And she does have like really good like flexibility and like martial arts skills, which is displayed for like out the different films.
Yeah, true.
I did like everyone had like their different colored costumes, and like Cyclops had like their really cool like kind of chrome visor that was cool. But it was kind of like, guys, this is like right at the end. Now I have to wait for like the next movie for all these characters to look the way they're supposed to, which is like,
yeah. What about here's something I liked: Jean Grey going full Phoenix mode.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, but that was kind of cool. I will say that like Sophie Turner, I don't think she got a lot of opportunity in this film to really shine. I feel like there's potential there for her character, and she did pretty well. But I feel like, especially going from that and then watching the latest episode of Game of Thrones and seeing her there, it's like, you feel like way more invested in this character than you do in Jean Grey, which I guess you've been playing it for longer, but like, it was kind of interesting to note that like, your performance on Game of Thrones is like so strong and so powerful. And here it's kind of like, it's not quite as good as it could be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, she was good. She was one of the decent performances in this movie, but I feel like it came into that problem that I was saying before, how we were getting little tastes of things, but we weren't getting enough.
Yeah.
So I feel like we didn't get enough time with her to kind of develop her character, to get more of a connection with her. I felt maybe if we did that, maybe if she got some deeper scenes where she got to really shine in her acting, maybe it would have helped a bit.
That's the same with like the actress who plays Storm, who I think like, yeah, she did okay. She was better than Halle Berry, I guess, but we didn't get a lot of time with her. But we did get some good scenes, and I did like the stuff we did get, because we did get to touch on like, yeah, she's like a child thief in Egypt, so that was cool, and that was like, we haven't seen that before in the comics, so like that's cool touching on that. And we got to see like the cool mohawk hair, which that was also pretty neat, and how she got the white hair, which was all right. That's one way, I guess, how she got it. And she did get to like display some really cool powers, but yeah, just the character wasn't quite there yet. Like, there's some good framework here, and she's got some good stuff to work with, but I'm just hoping in the next movie they do it a little better.
I feel you. Hopefully they focus some more on some. I hope they don't introduce more characters. That's what I'm going to say. I hope they don't introduce more characters so we can get some more time with these characters and develop them a bit better.
Like, at most, you can introduce maybe one or two, not like a whole swath of people. Like, in this film, they introduced like 6 people or more. Just like, these are new people. This is all some new situations. It's like, no, just like focus on our core group that we've got now. So we've got an X-Men team. Focus on that. Let's just focus on that going forward, and give us like a clear villain and a clear mission, and allow us to like explore these characters a bit more without all this like blur.
I want to know, like, what happened to the fucking, I don't remember his name, the fucking Whistler from First Class. He didn't die, did he?
Oh, the Banshee?
Yeah, Banshee.
I
don't remember him.
I don't remember at all.
I don't remember him dying, but in the
I think they might
jet
have...
where they're talking about the old X-Men, Mystique goes, "Oh yeah, me and Hank are the only ones left. I'm like the others are dead." I'm like, "What happened to fucking Whistler?"
I guess there's it was like 20. There's 20 years between that film and this one, so that he could be anywhere. Who knows? Maybe he's back in Scotland, just screaming at people.
Guess that's what they do in Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, do you have any other thoughts to add? I feel like we're getting to the conclusion of this podcast.
I'm just trying to think. Look, Oscar Isaac was okay, but wasn't that great. And I thought, I'm interested to see how, like, all the destruction in this film, because so much of the world was destroyed. The bloody Sydney got screwed up a bit.
I liked that. I'm kind of like, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I am glad that we are being included. We are never usually included. Usually the whole Earth's going to shit and we're just chilling out all fine. I'm glad that this time we got to be destroyed too.
It's not my favorite seeing the Sydney Opera House get destroyed on film that I've ever seen. My favorite is in Godzilla Final Wars, where Godzilla versus Zilla, which is like the CGI Godzilla, and it just like he slams him onto the opera house and just like atomic breaths him and explodes, and it's like playing like this massive kind of rock song in the background, and it's like it's just like, this is pure awesome. I love this. But this was okay. Like,
I'm just like, that is somewhere I have been. I've been inside that building,
and now I'm watching it to get
on
destroyed.
film.
So like, yeah, I just want to see like how the world goes forward, because like I know how like the X-Men are going to rebuild like their shit, because they've got magical powers that can just be like,
we already saw that.
Boop, boop,
like,
fix all the house. Like, it's like it
we
never blew
already
up at
kind
all.
of saw that at the end of the movie. Gene was just like, "Yep, fixing it, guys. Just hang out for another 5 minutes."
So that was, yeah, I'm just interested to see, because like maybe that like plays into like why there was like that destroyed helicarrier in Deadpool. It's like that's like a leftover like destroyed thing from the 80s because of Apocalypse, or
Maybe.
and like what happens to Cairo now? Is it just like a giant pyramid in the middle of Cairo, where they're just kind of like,
One
okay,
thing I thought in that final sequence where the big fight was going on, where are all the people? Like, are they all dead?
I guess they are. Like
Obviously they didn't want to say that, but I'm thinking they must be all dead, because this
So,
is the middle
like,
of
this
Cairo,
is like-
and Cairo is like a densely populated city.
no, it's like the population of Australia in one city. It's a really densely populated. Yeah.
But no one's there. They must all be dead. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, no, this is probably like the superhero film with the biggest death toll out of all the ones we've seen ever, maybe. Because this
I
is
hope
like
they kinda
worldwide
deal with-
destruction.
Yeah. I hope they kind of deal with that a bit in the next films, like how many people died. Because like at the end of this film, they're kind of all happy. They're back at the mansion. They're rebuilding. Like, everything's fine.
Like the world has had complete nuclear disarmament. Like all the nukes are gone. What does that mean for the world going forward? Like this is, it's a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. So
The world is like
we,
completely different now.
yeah. I hope we get a little bit of touching on that to see like where that goes. What's the aftermath of all this? Because shit went down.
Yeah.
Like as I said, it
It's also
feel
relates a little bit to what we're going to be talking about once we get to like the CW Arrowverse kind of stuff, or Flarrow or whatever.
Wait, what Flarrow?
Flash Arrow. I don't know. Like,
I'm just calling it the Arrowverse because that's what it's called on Wikipedia.
oh yeah, but yeah, like there's stuff that went down or is going down in that is also like, what does this mean? Like, you should be talking about this all the time. But anyway, that's just a little hint for next week. What did you think of X-Men Apocalypse? Were you happy with it? Do you think it represented the X-Men well? Did you like the new characters? Did you hate them? What did you think of Oscar Isaac? Let us know. You can go to our Facebook, facebook.com/PCMR podcast. Let us know over there. You can go on Twitter. We're at PCMR podcast. We also have our own personal Twitter accounts. I'm at Aiden's Vlog, AIDANSVLOG.
I am at meman125, spelled how it sounds. Email us. You can email us. Why not?
Yeah.
Our email address is pcmrpodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to be listening to this, and since you are listening to it, I assume you want to know where are all the places I can listen to it. Well, you can find us on YouTube. We're at youtube.com/PCMR podcast, or just type in PCMR podcast. You will find us.
We're the only ones. We will come up.
We will come up. We're also on iTunes, which is our primary way for you to find us. Go there, subscribe, give us that 5 stars. Helps us out, boosts us up in the ratings, lets other people know that we're great. And if you do subscribe, you'll know exactly when these episodes go up. So you'll be informed.
Downloaded automatically onto your iTunes, onto your phone, any device you have that has podcasts.
Click once and then never worry. No worrying. You can also find us on our website, pcmrpodcast.net. You can visit that if you want to. That's where...
Yeah, it has all our links. It has all the episodes and everything. It's not spectacular looking. It's pretty basic, but it has all the stuff you need. So
true. Next week, we'll be talking about the finales of Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and maybe a little bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, we'll just be talking about all those shows, how they've been this year, what we thought of them, little reviews, whatever.
And a kind of a big old wrap-up of superheroes on TV for now. I guess until
probably like October when they come back.
Till October. So enjoy that if you want to be listening to it. It's going to be pretty good. Probably. Maybe. Who knows?
We'll see.
Until then, I have been Aiden.
I still am Brett.
And you've been listening to the Pop Culture Master Race, the PCMR podcast. Farewell, friends.